ladies and gentlemen, it's Tuesday night. Welcome back to the channel. It's a pleasure to be here. We're going live this evening, as you can tell, and as I've had teased on the channel all day. Basically due to the fact there's not an awful lot to talk about. So good evening. It's nice to see some people in the chat already. Dougie, the absolute legend himself. Got Chris Martin, as always, make the same joke, the Coldplay singer. Nice to see you, Chris. We've got Kyle, we've got Adam, a lot of other people as well piling into the chat. Bunsey Boy, a lot of folk coming in. Nice to see you. Come on, sit down, welcome yourself in. I thought we'd just have a sit and a wee chat because I really wanted to make some form of content today. I really did, and I actually sat down and I've planned out my month of July. I've got a full video schedule for the month of July on my PC now. It's open at the right hand side. I've basically got something planned for every day of the month essentially, apart from like my odd day off here and there. But the one thing I couldn't do was find a video for today because there's not too much to talk about. Of course, we've got in the title of the live stream the main story, and that is that DEMBELE has left Celtic. So we're going to talk about that in tonight's stream, and we're also going to talk about the fact that Celtic are back tomorrow. Yes, they're back tomorrow. Unbelievable scenes. The first Celtic game since, of course, the last game of last season when we lifted the league trophy, but we've not kicked a ball since, so it's nice to finally have us back. It's been a long summer. And, oh, nice to see Cal in the chat, by the way, podcast regular and such. Nice to see you, Cal. Here, let me answer the question. Will I do it now? Will I give you the good or the bad news? It's good news, boys. I'm going to do it. We're going to do a live watch-along tomorrow for the friendly game. In fact, I'm going to do a live watch-along for every friendly game that isn't at Celtic Park this pre-season. I don't, obviously, we've spoken about this before. I don't usually do watch-alongs. It's not my kind of thing. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with them, but I can understand why people don't like them. But I feel like for the friendly games, you can get away with it a little bit more. You can have a laugh, you can have a chat. It's a good way to enjoy what could be very boring games. You know, these are friendly matches. You're not expecting the pinnacle of football. So I hope that pleases you guys. We'll have a little watch along tomorrow. I don't know if anybody will be joining me or such as of yet, but even if it's just me, we'll sit down, we'll have a laugh, and we'll just have a drink, something to eat, and watch the game. I probably won't eat. I'm not going to eat on live on YouTube. It's not mukbang. But yes, there will be a live stream tomorrow. There you go. Nice to see you all, though, and thank you for the support. I see the reaction from Matthew, Chris, etc. I love that. But yes, there will be one tomorrow. So check out. We will be live, and we'll talk a bit more about that as we go on with the stream. But let's start, before I talk about the kind of the questions and get your guys' questions, and we just have a bit of a discussion for tonight. Let's talk about the big story of DEMBELE leaving the club. It's probably the only piece of news that we haven't covered on this channel that is with us today. I mean, unless you want to start covering the resignations of Rishi Sunak and is it Javid as well, you know, the government is falling apart, fantastic, let's all revolt. No, but the only story is DEMBELE has left the club. He has joined Brest over in France, and is no longer a Celtic player. We knew that his contract was about to expire at the club. It was at the expiry date. It was just about waiting for that official confirmation that he would be leaving Celtic and where he'd be going post-Celtic. It's a shame. Things never worked out for him. It didn't go the way that things were, you know, I think for so long where people thought they'd go. For years we heard so much about DEMBELE. I think that's been part of the problem. I think there was so much, and I don't want to use the word pressure because I don't feel like at any point there had to be that pressure there on him, or there was even that pressure on him, but I think there always was that expectation from a very young age that DEMBELE was going to come into the Celtic team whenever he had the opportunity, and he was going to set the world on fire. And that came with a number of things. It came from social media, it came from the fact that he's one of the most followed players in Scottish football history in terms of social media followers. It came from just everything, years and years of being hyped up from such a young age. And, you know, I think that we all wanted that to be acted upon. We all wanted that to kind of build. But it never did. We never got to see the best of DEMBELE. We've seen very little of DEMBELE as a senior player at Celtic, and that's it over for him before it really ever got started after all those years. And as I said, I think that was part of the problem with the DEMBELE situation, that there was such a long build of expectation and potential that was just never able to be realised. Now, you could touch on the past couple of years of his career. They really were out of his hands. They were out of anybody's hands the past sort of 2 seasons, especially last season. You know, injured right at the start of the campaign, right in pre-season, in fact, a really nasty tackle, a tackle that never had to be made. It kept him on the sidelines for a long time, and it probably stunted any sort of route into the first team from last season. But I think even from before then, things never panned out well enough for him. And a lot of people always hold Neil Lennon to the kind of the blame for the stunt in Karamoko Dembele's development, and I can understand that. I think it's fair. I think that Neil Lennon probably went about things in the wrong way, and when there was a route for him maybe to get into that team, he stopped that from being as clear. But I think all along, there was just never that opportunity for him to get into the team. And I think that, you know, you can blame whoever you want, but I think there is sort of a both, you can look at it from both sides. I think it was unlucky for him, and there's people that can have the blame. Because where ideally was he going to get in? It was difficult, especially this season when you sign the likes of Liel Abada, and he's not going to get in ahead of Abada. Abada's a better player. Abada offers more. He came in, and Abada's only a year older than him as well. Remember that. So yeah, it's a shame, you know, he is leaving. Of course, I seen somebody asking the question, how much did we get from him? We got nothing. It was the expiry of his contract. That's it. He's gone. He's moving on. And he'll go over to France to try and forge something out of a career there. And I hope he does. I really do wish him the best. He's someone who I wanted it to work so badly for him at Celtic. A lot of people talk about, you know, the size of him and the development and that aspect of things. You know, he probably didn't grow to what we needed as a player. And ultimately, I just wish it happened. I really did want him to come out and be the player that we thought we could have had when he was 13, 14 years old. But that is what it is. So any comments? Let's see what there is. Dembele wasn't good enough, says Twizzler. And you know what, there is an aspect of that. I think, you know, that this season, as I said just there, you know, with Abada in the team and even with Forrest in the team, he wasn't better than any of those two players, and it was always going to be difficult to get in there. But I think that the path leading over the years prior to this year, there could have been more of an opportunity for him, I think, to try and get up to a level that was good enough. And the injury obviously certainly never helped. So I can understand that, though. I think there had to be we had to sit down and be realistic. People were talking about trying to extend this contract again. There was absolutely no point in extending the contract of Karamoko Dembele. There was none whatsoever. It wasn't going to get into the team. He needs to move on for the better of his career. For both parties' sake, it had to finish. And I know for the past 2-3 years we've been talking about extensions and keeping him around and etc, etc. It had to come to an end. That cycle had to end. It was getting vicious for him, I think. And I think he'll be delighted. I think it's a good move for him, going over to France to try it out over there. It's a decent enough club as well. And who knows, maybe one day the paths will cross again. But he's got to go over there. He's got to go and try his best. And I'm sure that he will. Thank you very much, by the way, to Mac for the £5 donation. He says, what's the crack? Well, we're talking about the man Karamoko Dembele just now, but we've got so much to talk about. We're getting your guys' questions and such as well. Dembele should have explored a loan option a few years back for his development. Another thing that could have happened. I think once again, and I don't mean to keep reverting and just bringing up the injury would have stunted any chance of that last season. And then before that, I think maybe he was just a little bit too young to find a loan move. I think Celtic would have been keen to keep him around the development facilities at the club. Once again, I just think timing has been probably pretty bad for a number of reasons for Karamoko Dembele. But a loan move, you know, could have been something. Now, here's something we need to talk about. This is where I want to deep dive it. James McKenzie's brought up a very interesting point in his comment. He said he would never recommend Celtic for any younger players. Since every game is a must-win, there is a very little room for rotation and very little opportunities. Now, I think that this is what I wanted to talk about, because I think you can look at this in two ways. For example, we've brought in plenty of young players and they've done brilliantly. You look at Jeremy Frimpong, who came in, he left for £20 million, or it wasn't £20 million, £15 million. You look at Liel Abada, who came in 18 at the time, I think. He had a fantastic season. You look at we've brought in some really young players and they've gone on and they've done well. It is a big pressure club and a big pressure scenario. But at the same time, there is that other side, and I think that kind of moves into the problem at Celtic with the youth product. There is a very big difference in the amount of young players who are getting a chance at Celtic and the young players who are not getting a chance at Celtic, and the young players who are, quite frankly, not making the grade. And it brings back this point that we've made in the podcast numerous times. I don't think the academy at Celtic is working as good as it should be, working as effectively as we'd like, producing as many players as we'd like. I think there has to be a rethink and an overhaul of how the system below the senior team works. And I don't mean to be negative, in a very positive time for Celtic. And of course, we can keep signing players. We have the money to sign players. We don't need to worry with the position our first team is in at the moment. But I've brought this up in the podcast and brought this up on the channel a few times. How many graduates from the academy have gone on to make it the first team at Celtic in recent years? Very little. And you're looking at year upon year, there is a kind of exodus of younger players at the club, and that's continuing this season. You've seen Kerr McInroy leave the club, you've seen Ewan Henderson leave the club, you're seeing Brodie Patterson leave the club. You've seen a lot of younger guys just never getting into the chance, or getting the chances. And obviously you can't help it if they're not good enough. You know, if the club, yeah, of course KT is the prime example, Mike. Yeah, KT is the biggest example that there is. But I think that in general, when you look from head to toe and you look at every player who's came through the academy, there's very few that's made it into the first team at Celtic. And obviously that has to come down to be like, obviously that comes down to how good enough they are, and Celtic can't help it if they're not good enough. But I just think that our academy isn't doing what it should be doing for a club the size of Celtic in Scotland. And that's a good point. Like, Bob has brought up a very good point. 10 new academy boys just signed contracts this week. Hope they make the grade. They look real good. I hope that every single player in the academy at Celtic makes it at Celtic. Every one of them. Unless they have a reason for me not to want me to see them make it. Of course, I want to see every single one of them make it into the first team, graduate, and become a key player at the club. But every year, you know, we see all these guys and these young players sign up these contracts at Celtic to become a professional, and then 3 or 4 years later, they're dumped to the wayside. You look at Calvin Miller, he was talked up to be the next big thing. Nothing happened. There's plenty of players. That was just one example off the top of my head. There's been plenty like that in recent memory. And these are all the same kind of boys who've been signing these professional contracts at the age of 15, 16. And then nothing happens with them. And it happens every year. And I don't feel like we talk about it enough because of the success that we see on the park and because of the signings we make. And, you know, if the first team's doing well, that's all that matters, I suppose. But, you know, there is I think there has to be a structural change and a rethink of how things work below the senior team at Celtic. Because it's not successful enough, I don't think. And, like, you know, we do have players, and I'm bringing up a lot of Mac's comments as well. Welsh and Ralston, for example. But with Ralston, he changed it last minute. He was on the cusp of being one of those younger guys who would have been put to the side as well and left, but he changed it like that brilliantly. Welsh, I mean, in the team just now, you have Callum McGregor, you've got Welsh, you've got Ralston, you've got those three guys in particular, but, you know, that's free to think of all the teams they would have came through. I think they're all different ages, aren't they? Welsh, Ralston and McGregor, of course. Maybe Welsh and Ralston are a similar age, but they would have came through with, you know, 10, 15 other guys who never made the grade. It's crazy. Yeah, you know, if you look at the Scottish national team, there are more players who left Celtic and got better elsewhere than players that come through and played first. Exactly. A really good point from James here. And this is something me and my dad talk about every time Scotland play. There's some amount of lads in the Scotland setup. You get Aaron Hickey, for example. You get Andy Robertson. They all had time at Celtic when they were young guys, and they never made it through. I feel like there's something in between that stage of signing professionally for Celtic and then actually making it to the professional level that isn't quite working at Celtic. And I think it needs to be rethought. Sarah bringing up a great point. I think the B team will make a difference. Well, I hope so. And we're obviously in the very early stages of the B team because last year was the first year that they were put into the Lowland division. And obviously it's too early to see if that is going to make a difference. Hopefully it will over time. And you know, I think that it has to. I honestly can't stress enough how much it worries me at times. And it's so easy to forget about it because we succeed on the senior level so frequently. So, you know, there's a lot of problems, I think, but there is obviously good things. I'm not saying it's completely negative. I'm not here just to moan about it, but I think, you know, Karamoko DEMBELE, who was someone who was hyped up for so long and was meant to have so much potential, for it all to go wrong at some point, just like it has with so many other players, I feel like it's an alarming repetition in there. Anyway, academy isn't good enough for a standard of Celtic. It should be much better, and it's good to see young players sign their professional contracts, hopefully dealt much better with than this. I couldn't put it better myself. I actually agree with that big time. In football, to make the grade, you have to be in the top. Yeah, of course, you have to be a very good level, and you need to make it, and there's obviously a lot of players who just aren't that level. I feel like Celtic just need to produce more. I'm not blaming Lennon here at all. This is more of a club issue, but just get the feeling with the youth set-up since Brendan left, standards have dropped like a stone. I kind of agree to an extent. I think that's even since before Rodgers, it's still been, I don't know. I feel like for the best part of the 2010s onwards, it's been pretty much the same. I don't know. I think, but I think since Rodgers left, it's been even worse at times, I would say. Moffat has potential. I think Moffat has great potential. I'd love to see Owen Moffat come into the team a lot more if he gets a chance. So who am I hoping gets a chance in the preseason games? I would love to see Oliver Yemi get a chance. I'd love to see Boston Lawal get a chance as well. They're two guys. I think they're the two kind of standouts. I wonder if the likes of like Dane Murray will be cutting about. Big lad at centre half. I would love to see the likes of Rocco Vata coming in the preseason games, but I think that's a bit pie in the sky. They're the two standouts. Yeah, they are the two, and I think they're the ones that have been like pictured the most and such as well. Lawal is our best defender. Wow, it's a big claim. Good player though, very good player. Do you think that B team playing in the Lowland League is a League 2 low for them doesn't represent the first team in any way? It's a very interesting point from Adam here, because the Lowland League is obviously not a great quality, and then playing in there, you know, isn't obviously going to give them the best representation of the level that Celtic require. However, where else do you put them? Of course, we can loan them out to clubs in League 2, League 1, etc. But that's the problem at Celtic already. We loan them out to these clubs. We loan them out to your Queen's Parks. We loan them out to your Greenock Mortons. We loan them out to your Falkirks. And they come back and they do nothing. So I don't know. It is a really... I think we're ultimately as well, it's not just a Celtic thing. It's a Scotland thing. In Scotland, I just feel like the system isn't the greatest. I really don't. I know we've produced some... Right now, our national team is at the best point it's ever been in my lifetime. Absolutely. But there's so many young players who aren't getting chances and fall to the wayside. I don't know. It's certainly not just a thing at Celtic right now. But anyway, there we go. He's away. Caramoko DEMBELE is gone. That's the first big thing to talk about. I want to get on to like a Q&A sort of section of the show. So very quickly, Celtic are back tomorrow. Yes, we compete tomorrow evening. I think I've deleted the graphic actually that I had to use for this. We play Wiener Victoria tomorrow night, 5:30 kickoff over in Austria. The team have travelled over. I'm sure you've seen all the social media. I'm sure you've seen all the photos of the players over there enjoying life, living life. So yeah, they're over there just now. Hopefully going to have a good little trip, get some minutes in the legs, and I will be live on the channel tomorrow. Yes, I'll be live on the channel tomorrow. 5:30 is the kickoff. I'll probably go live around the back of 5. So get your dinner, sit down, have a beer if you like for Celtic returning, and we'll have a watch along so that everybody can come in and kind of see what's going on in my opinions to the pre-season friendly games. But there we go. Are we going to get a German accent out for the pronunciation of the Austrian teams? We'll wait till tomorrow and see. I'll do my best Total Wolf impression. Zwei Pumpernickels. But yes, there we go. Right, let's get into a Q&A. Let's do about 10 minutes like that. Let's just get your questions. I'll give you my answers. Ask anything you want in relation to... Well, it could be anything at all. It doesn't have to be just in relation to Celtic. But we'll try and keep it roughly about Celtic. And that'll kind of do us for the stream this evening. So, yeah, I seen this. John Park, is it? He's joined Rangers as some sort of recruitment man. After, of course, his term at Celtic was a chief scout at Celtic for years. And he's now away to Rangers. To be honest, don't give a shit. Must admit, I'm not too bothered. What I will say is, and I don't mean to say this because he's away to Rangers, I'm not doing one of those things like, it wasn't that good anyway. Of course, I spotted some gems, but let's be fucking real. The amount of shite that came into Celtic in that period of time when he was at the club far outweighs the good. That's being real. It does. For every Virgil van Dijk, there was a Pavel Brozek, there was a fucking... I can't even think of some names of it. There was a lot of shit. That's basically what I'm saying. So, and there was a lot of people also in around that time when Park was at Celtic who were influential in the signing of good players. Dudu Duhan, for example, he was the reason we've seen the likes of Biram Kayal join the club. I was saying I seen a tweet about it earlier. There was just other people who were influential as well. It wasn't just him. Of course, Van Dijk was the biggest find of them all, and he was at Ibrox today, or he was with Rangers today. Funnily enough, weird. That's the second time in a few years he's been cutting about at Rangers, I think. But anyway, a lot of shite came into the club, but he's away. I don't really care. I honestly don't. It's all about what the clubs do on either side. So yeah, right. Let's get some questions. Let's see. What's my starting 11 for Aberdeen? If I had to pick right now, we'll hold off on that because we're still to make signings, Aidan. We'll hold off on that. We've got a long way to go. It would be such a good week to go to Austria. That's right, Sarah. I never even thought of that. Austria, what a week it would be. Go and watch the Celtic games and head over to the Austrian Grand Prix at the weekend. That would be brilliant. I never even thought of that. Red Bull Ring weekend, yeah. That's pretty cool, actually. How long do I think Ange will stay at Celtic? Till the day I die. He's not leaving till I die. He's not allowed to. Grace putting things very bluntly. John Park, the donkey, should have never been working so high up at Celtic in the first place. As I said, I don't think he was a man who was very spectacular at his job. I mean, I was sort of younger, and I wasn't really into the technical side of football as much, and I was just, whatever happened on the pitch was all that mattered to me while he was at Celtic, so I wasn't really as big into my research and such now, but now I look back and I'm like, fucking hell, I'm like, there was some amount of pish there. What do you think about Sousa? Do you think he'll sign for Celtic? Ryan McGinley's very sure that he'll sign for Celtic. I should have maybe got him on tonight. He's very sure that we'll sign Sousa for the club, but I don't know. I'm going to wait till more comes out. I think that we need a defensive midfielder, and I think he would be the best option from what we've been linked with. So hopefully he does sign for the club, but I don't know. There's nothing to suggest right now to me that he will sign for Celtic. And to be honest, if I was to lean on any side of the fence, I'd say no. I don't know what's making McGinley so certain that he will. Very Lovrich type vibes from last season, if you remember McGinley in the Lovrich situation. Let's see. What's the thoughts on Hatate Maida having a rest in the full pre-season? Is that do I don't know. I don't want to comment because I don't know how long a break or they have. But I'll probably need a bit of news on that. We know how you feel about Hart and Barkas. Has Siegrist find a place in your heart? He's a Celtic player, so of course, Dougie. He's got some extent that is there, but we'll wait and see how things progress. I need more content. I need more games. I need more to see, to judge. If you've been watching, everybody knows I love the goalkeepers, so hopefully we'll see. How long will Hart stay for? I think another 2 or 3 years. Maybe not as first team keeper the entire time, but I think he'll stick around the club. Absolutely. I'd like to see him stick around with Ange beyond his time at Celtic. You know, if he comes in to further his coaching career or something like that. I think he's a really good guy to have around the club, and I think we've seen that firsthand from this season. It's brilliant, Adam. It's really, really good. What are the chances Scott Brown will be Celtic manager in the next 10 years? I mean, depends. You know, it's so hard to tell because he could go to Fleetwood, he could be humdinging, and he needs to start from a lower level. You never know. I think they're quite decent. Towards the end of that 10-year period, I think you could see Scott Brown be a Celtic manager if his career goes the right way. So basically, it's just wait and see. It's hard to tell right now. Do you think there's any more room for new players? And if so, what position? Absolutely, there's always room for new players. There's always room for improvement, Mikey. I think we're looking at 3 more players coming in, I'd say. I think we need 3 more signings. And in what position I've been through this, but I'll say it again. Striker, central defensive midfielder, and a centre half. I think that would be great. To end the window with 3 more of them, I would be the happiest man on earth. It sounds so sad, but even with pre-season, it's not sad at all. We're all buzzing. I'm buzzing. I can't wait to watch Celtic play tomorrow. Could not care. Let's do it. Who do you want in the Champions League, big man? Right, okay. I've answered this question so many times, but I'll answer it again just to give you the recap on the situation. In terms of just what I want the easiest group possible. I want the 3 easiest teams from the 3 pots. And, I mean, there is no such thing as easy teams in the Champions League. It's the Champions League for a reason, but that's what I want. I want the easiest one from each pot. But in terms of trips, and I need to get the fucking pots up again, because I forget who's in where. I think I said what I wanted was a trip to Spain that would include Atletico Madrid, a trip to Germany, which would include Dortmund, and a trip to Italy, which would include Inter Milan. I think that was the 3 in terms of trips, but I want an easier group than that. I don't want Dortmund, Inter, and Atletico Madrid. Christ, we'll walk away with nothing. But yeah, I would, in terms of trips, I would like that. Lasad, the poor man Samaras. Christ, Lasad, I forgot he existed. Should we play all Glasgow derbies in the evening? The atmosphere's way better. Absolutely, but it's never going to happen. I think that we were lucky for that to happen, and I don't think it will happen anytime soon again, sadly, unless it's a cup game. I love the evening kickoffs and I would root for them every single time, but I just don't think it will happen anytime soon, sadly. Let's see, what else is being thrown in? We need another winger, in my opinion. Yeah, I wouldn't knock another winger as well. I'd take a winger in, Aiden, absolutely. I think that would be great. because we do need, I think, a bit more depth. Mike Johnson isn't exactly the best depth. Don't know what's going to happen with James Forrest, if he's going to be reliable in terms of fitness and quality next season. So, I think I wouldn't knock another winger, as I said. How far do I think we realistically go in Europe? Depends on the draw. Depends on the draw, basically. Is that Jake? Oh, it's Joe. I thought it was my pal Jake. John McFarlane, bring them out to Celtic Park. Champions League nights under the lights. Cannot wait. Bring them back. Okay, yeah, we could go to Seville, but we need to remember to bring our own water, sure. Don't want to be drinking from the toilets, of course. If there's no new signings and Starfield was still injured, would you rather Julian or Lewal versus Aberdeen? Hopefully Starfield won't be injured. I think I'd rather Lewal. Genuinely, I think I would. I think I'd rather Lewal. Am I going to any of the pre-season games? I'll go to the ones at Celtic Park, probably. Yeah, I'll probably go to the ones, everyone at Celtic Park. Was it Blackburn, Norwich, and is there another one? I don't know. But I'll probably go to all of them, A left back playing in the stadium named after him in Madrid in the Champions League, surely. What do you think about the time, lad? Looking forward to seeing him, Jason. Absolutely buzzing to see him. We need that left back. There's a camera away. Camera away. Thoughts on Rogic being still a free agent? Yeah, he must be looking for something. I don't know if it's money or a specific move, or he's just. I honestly, I said this the other day. I wouldn't be surprised if he took a year off and maybe even chucked it. Genuinely, I wouldn't start. I don't know why, and they won't. Obviously, he won't. But I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know. It just seems like the kind of player. But I'm going to chill. I'm going to take a gap year. You know what I mean? Just strikes me as that kind of fella. To anything else that has to be said. Don't get the Julian hate. Somehow after an injury in game time he's become terrible. Still a good player. No, absolutely, James. And I don't want to come across as a Julian hater at any point. He is. I just feel like Celtic need to move on. I just don't know. I don't want to come across as a hater is what I'm saying, but I just think the time is done for him. What was the moment last season you thought we could win this? When we pumped Rangers 3-0 at Parkhead. 60,000 for the Blackburn game to give John Daltamos a great ovation. Yes, absolutely. Right, okay. Coming up for half an hour. I'm going to end the stream off there. We will be live tomorrow. We'll be doing a watch along for the friendly game between Celtic and Wiener Victoria. So if you want to come and check us out, please feel free. Check us out. It'll probably just be me, but if you want to, that would be very, very nice of you. Thank you for tuning in this evening on this very empty-ish sort of Tuesday stream. There's no news at all, really, is there? So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed filling in the void of Celtic news. Anyway, okay, thank you.